What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what's going on with NIO and a couple of other tickers, and some very important information about how the market is looking thus far. But before I break anything down, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you guarantee 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. The offer ends in just about 2 days from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and NIO. I just want to note that NIO has, a rising wedge-like pattern that's developing, and I think that there's going to be likely potential for it to push a little higher if we get a bounce from here. But this move might not last, and NIO could end up coming back down to dip just to get a very healthy little pullback for more liquidity to be grabbed. Could even backtest this breakout area before we see this thing bounce again. So this is going to depend on how NIO opens tomorrow and also the news that comes out. But I think that the market, excuse me, sorry guys, I think that the market could play a big role in dictating how NIO ends up moving. I want to just break that down over the next couple of minutes. So for tomorrow, it's going to be Monday, December 18th. We have the NAHB Housing Market Index report coming out. This is very important because the forecast is basically 32. The consensus is actually 36, so we want this to be very close to the middle. So if it's like 34, it's going to be fine. Might not cause that big of a move in the markets, but it could cause some volatility. And then besides that, at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3-month and the 6-month bill auction reports coming out. We'll be watching those very carefully. Now, NIO is likely going to be launching a cheaper Firefly brand in Europe in 2025. This is good news, despite the fact that we don't have any confirmed prices. But the reason why this is good is because this will help NIO to become a lot more competitive in different spaces out there. This is going to help them not only develop their technologies, but compete with other vehicles out there, other automakers, and just continue to remain intact. So this is going to be good news for them, especially as they're improving. With the current things going on with the price wars, this did affect them, but NIO is coming up with new strategies to make their cars more affordable, and it's going to be very helpful in Europe. On top of this, NIO Germany and the leading renewable energy company RWE enter into a partnership, which is good news again, as we're continuing to see more buyers stepping in and getting excited about their battery swapping technology. NIO could use this partnership to help improve their systems for battery swapping, make it a lot more efficient as they're working to cut costs and to continue to improve as time goes on. NIO's volume was about 71 million, well above average, which is a pretty good sign for them. And then looking at other pieces of data, Mizuho gave NIO a buy rating. Price price ratio is going up a bit as NIO is gaining some strength. And when it comes to seasonality, I just want to mention that Mondays tend to be green about 49% of the time. Watch for volatility around 11 o'clock a.m., 2 p.m., and also during the last hour of the trading day. NIO tends to be the most volatile during those time frames. I also want to note that when it comes to NIOs, there's not really anything too crazy going up just yet, but that's pretty much it for the time being. Now let's talk about how NIO is looking. NIO has a rising wedge-like pattern, but we're going to be watching to see if NIO could get one more attempts to push up. I think it's going to attempt to go higher one more time, holding up with the market. Wouldn't be surprised if we go up to like 8.2 to 8.4. Then we reject and come back down temporarily for a few days before we get an end of the week run. So I think that's going to be forming like a V shape. I think that this thing could basically do this. I'm going to just draw this out just to give you guys a reference. Let me find my little tool. Sorry about that, guys. But I wouldn't be surprised if NIO does something like this where we kind of like push up a little bit higher, and then we just end up breaking down again, and we just slowly retrace towards this breakout area, so like right here, this area. We grab liquidity here one more time. We see a little retracement, but then NIO gets a reaccumulation. Then we slowly start pushing back towards the end of the week, especially after NIO Day, and then we get this like big push up like this. I'm anticipating something like this to be very probable because don't forget we have this rising wedge on NIO that's developing. Uh, and with that being said, we could see this thing potentially come back down before seeing another reaccumulation near this breakout area. I'm targeting this breakout area because this is where we have this wick here, not to mention where this thing ended up bouncing. And I think that SPY and these tickers will be the thing that leads NIO like this. I think that the market has been pumping like crazy. We've been green 7 weeks in a row. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get one more attempts to break out, since we are like trying to break out of this like channel right over here. There could be one more attempt for 472, but we want to be watching to see, does SPY break resistance or do we fail? If it breaks 474, I would turn bullish. It could still push up more, but if it fails to do so, if we establish a lower high, this could be our sign that SPY is going to kind of like pop and drop. So I find it probable that this thing will push up like this, then just fail, and then slowly kind of like come back down to 467, kind of cool off in a very healthy fashion. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a pop and drop like move, and if SPY makes a move just like this. I'm leaning more in that direction, but I think that there's going to be a slight little retracement coming, looking at some other indicators. But look for a little pop and drop as a very probable move. On the QQQ, I see something very similar. This is still bullish overall. I just want to note that there's no sign of this breaking down yet, but make sure you watch this yellow trend line that's acting as our support. Could pop like this on the QQQ, approach 406 to 408 or so. One more push up, and then we could start breaking back down for a very healthy retracement. Wouldn't be surprised if we do something like this before we come back. So we could see something like this just hypothetically on the QQQ. As far as Tesla goes, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla sort of like follows the trend. Tesla looks bullish right now. It looks like it could outperform the markets. I would not be surprised if Tesla ends up attempting to push up towards this orange trend line, just like this, a little bit higher before this thing starts to consolidate a bit and it actually retraces back down to the yellow trend line. We could see something like this pan out for Tesla, but I think there's going to be an attempt to go higher first. I think we're going to be watching this resistance at 258 to 260. So it could push a little bit more. Make sure you watch that resistance. Look for a little pop and drop like move. I still find that very probable. Apple is showing a little bit of weakness. We tried to push up, came back down, respecting this channel. Could Apple get one more attempt to push like to this resistance like this, helping the market pump a little bit, then continuing to drop down like this? Ultimately, I think that Apple could get one more pump, but I don't think it's going to last because I think Apple will ultimately come back down to 195 as the days go on. So a little pop and drop is very probable for Apple. 195 should be coming by the end of the week, and I still favor that view. As far as NVIDIA goes, I think NVIDIA is going to follow Apple. We have these two like small looking channels developing with these flags. Wouldn't be surprised if we see NVIDIA do something like this where it kind of like it attempts to break out one more time. You know how we have this wick and etc. We could get one more attempt to break out like this, and then we just come back down and we just slowly downtrend back down towards this area right here, this retracement, which is where we happen to get this breakout. This also aligns with our Fibonacci retracement. And then, it could just continue to drop to fill this gap below and, make its way back down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of pop and drop on NVIDIA before we just try to continue. Make sure you watch this blue trend line. This is one of our supports as well. You guys can see we have a tendency of bouncing off the blue trend line. So we could be retracing back towards that level. But I find a pop and drop like move on NVIDIA very, very probable. Watch that resistance, especially as we get closer to 500. It could pop a little bit more, but just be very careful because we might see this thing slowly downtrend from there. Anyways, what does all this mean for NIO? I'm going to be watching to see how NIO tries to hold up. It could push one more time. There's no sign of it breaking down yet unless we break below the 50 EMA on the 30 minutes time frame. We haven't necessarily broken that yet. And on top of that, I just want to note that on the 4-hour time frame, NIO is still showing live. It is starting to curl a little bit, but there's no sign of it breaking down yet. Could get one more attempt to pop to grab more liquidity before it comes back down. We have this imbalance at 7.5 as well. 7.7 is the 20 EMA and 7.5. I think it might pop and drop, reaccumulate down here around the 7.5 to 7.7 area, then push back up. That's what I find very, very probable, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. I'll see you guys very soon in the next video. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate everyone out here. Have a very, very great weekend. Enjoy the rest of Sunday, and peace out.